Okay, so Ash released a video a couple days ago. I did watch through about half of this, but I was like doing work and I was tuning it out and like I don't know. I wanna watch through this because the title of this video is "Did Hades Waste Millions on Fateless? Pay to win raid clone or genre defining?" Ash is, I'm fairly certain, on the list of creators who are working with Fateless, like behind the scenes. Like he owns a business, shoot, like an agency, I guess, like a creator agency. They do like things with I've checked out their Twitter. They help with like marketing for smaller creators and I think esports orgs or something. So like clearly this is a clickbait title. Like he's trying to get you, but I want to take a look at this because it's him and Simon talking one on one. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. No audio
Hey
jungle.
guys, Ash here in Godforge. Godforge from the Fateless crew.
How dare you, Dwight?
Don't fire me.
I'm joined by Hell Hades, aka Simon, co-founder, and just really everything is synonymous. Hades and Fateless as it stands right now. But you have a great team.
I still call it Fateless.
Alongside of you. We get Dan,
But that's the
Fiction,
studio
and
name.
Sham as well. You guys are super busy at Gamescom. Today we're gonna update everything on Fateless on Godforge, and also I want to tackle some of like the first little bits of criticism and/or questions that we're getting from the community. But first, Simon, how you doing, man?
I'm doing really well, man. Like it's a week past Gamescom now, and honestly, like the first time I've been to Gamescom was a real buzz. It was really cool to meet some.
I
of the
wish,
kind
but
of,
I'm
like,
deathly
European
afraid of
arm of Fateless
planes.
and yeah, sort of back into the grind now with.
He looks too big. I mean, from what I understand, he like has like a standing desk. So his camera angle is pretty imposing. He's also like like beefy, you know? Like Winston in Overwatch, a gorilla in reading glasses. I see what you
and
mean.
all that type of stuff, but it was really cool to get out there with a live
That's funny.
demo and be able to show people, like the first look of the game.
That's awesome. I saw a lot of one of your videos kind of from the booth, and it seemed like you guys were having a hell of a good time there, and the reception seemed to be really good for the sneak peeks, I would say, of the actual
I
game.
kinda like their
Which, if
jerseys.
you missed it, it is the first game by Fateless Studios. Is going to be Godforge.
Man, we got to work on the fonts. It's got to be a little bit
It
more
looks
satisfying when you see
awesome.
them.
Like we'd never got an IP, right?
Yeah.
There was, I don't know. Are we?
Oh,
what's
this is
the official
juicy.
Stance here. Are you saying any of the IPs that were in consideration, or is it top secret at this point? And is it?
I mean, we signed NDA, so we can't really.
Okay.
But I mean,
Can I? I don't think I signed an NDA.
Yeah, you can see him in the
maybe say
background.
some ones that you hoped we might have spoken to, and I'll sit here quietly.
I hoped as a long time Magic the Gathering player, I hope that maybe there was some opportunity.
Can you imagine? So, Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast, and Hasbro had tried to make a Diablo clone with Magic the Gathering characters. I played the beta, and I'm fairly certain I played the beta on stream. It never made it out of beta. It was scrapped right away. I had talked about this before, where it would be like if you wanted IPs, you could go with the IP route, and I was thinking about like which ones could be good, and I said that Magic the Gathering would be good. And I said that like I don't know, maybe a couple months ago, because of like all the planeswalkers, all like the major characters. You could use lesser characters for like the uncommon champions, and like it's so funny that one of the IPs theoretically that they talked to was Wizards of the Coast, because like no way in hell is Wizards of the Coast letting somebody do something with their characters without Hasbro wanting $1 billion. Exact. Like Hasbro has Magic the Gathering on such a tight leash right now. There's no way in hell it's not going to be like its own game developed in-house. You know, it's just not going to happen.
opportunities there. But honestly, the idea of kind of gods and legends, sure, like it's newsflash, it's been done before, right? But it also has unlimited
we had talked about Smite.
potential, right? Because think about it. I mean, we could talk about like the Herculean Greek gods, or we could talk about like the Aztec gods, or we could talk
about Wukong, Sun Wukong. I don't know if you realize, Hades and Ash. There was a game that just came out recently. What was it called? Oh, it was called Wukong. There's a bunch of different outfits in there. There's a bunch of different bosses, different fighting styles. I don't know. Just saying.
talk about modern or old gods or anything in between. It really gives you this massive like universe of little IPs that aren't IPs, I guess, right? That you can pull from and add new content to the game. You know, we were talking about like horror themed stuff, or, you know, there's a lot of potential there.
And what's interesting as well, so as the community kind of reach out to us and give us ideas, it goes way further than even we thought. So because it's gods, myths, and legends, it's really vast. We actually had some comments of originally people saying, how can you ever get to...
Oh, did you say that at the same time you heard me say it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Lovecraft is in public domain now, which is why I'm pretty sure the Call of Cthulhu game is not affiliated with the family, as far as I'm aware.
300 heroes in your game if you're going to use like gods and stuff. And it's like, well, actually, if you really look into it, if you just went into like Indian gods, it's like 1,000.
Oh yeah, right.
You know, Egyptian, Greek, like there's so many. And then when you like to factor in myths and legends as well, which becomes a bit more vague. You know,
I do second what we talked about the last video, that Jack the Ripper. Maybe we stick to fictional murderers.
We're kind of like debating whether Robin Hood is actually a legend at the moment, and there's a whole bunch like that which kind of fall into the same categories, but it does mean that we can do some really fun stuff actually, and really different stuff as well. So I think all in all we pretty much landed on our feet by going in this direction, because we got complete freedom of character design. You know, with an IP, you've got a little bit of a stranglehold in terms of what you're allowed to do.
Yeah, I feel like if they did Magic the Gathering, for example, with an IP, they would probably want to use existing assets from WotC, and they would just like lease the characters for like a one-time event, kind of like Monster Hunter in Raid or something like that. They're already stepping on some actual toes. Yeah. The legends part of their gods, myths, and legends, like, I feel like they just got to be careful.
Signed off. All the colors have to look like this. You know, there's so many different things which you have to conform with. Whereas, actually, for us, it's just a case of let's do a bunch of research and let's try and create some cool stuff.
No, I love it. I'm happy. A blessing in disguise in terms of the IP situation, for me at least. I'm really thrilled with this. So
really,
I want to ask you out the gate here about monetization in this game.
Heck right? Yeah, let's talk about monetization.
The number one thing is, and man, like, I just want to address the elephant in the room, at least for me, man. I don't know how you feel, but the expectations on this game are so unbelievably high. Because people know you, they know the Hell Hades team, they know a lot of the creators involved in this project, and I think it's just like, okay, we need to solve everything that Raid has ever done wrong and come up with like the best product. Where personally, I never viewed this as like a Raid killer. I don't think, like, we've called 150 billion games. I feel like Raid killers out there.
It's like each new MMO is a WoW killer.
Job. Like, they're still so successful in the genre, one of the most successful, if not the most, after 5+ years.
And you can hug it out, bitch.
I think my goal is to just make a really fun game, right? Like, that I enjoy playing and people enjoy playing, but I want to, it all starts with monetization when we talk about this genre of game. So I want to ask you out the gate, how are you handling, what is your own personal philosophy on monetization on this, your first game?
So I think I want to talk on a couple of things quickly first. So firstly, we don't want to create a raid killer, right? So we've got another business, HH Gaming. We employ 18 people in that business. if Raid just disappears, that's a pretty sorry state for those people that are employed that do content on Raid. So
That's fair.
like,
They're-
they've got no.
All of their HH Gaming and like the Hell Hades website, like the people who make articles, the people who, you know, Saf who does like all the math and stuff, they rate the characters, they like even the HH like gaming helper thing, like if Raid died, they'd be shit out of luck.
No kind of like hope to take down a company like Raid. In fact, we really like the game. That's why we've covered it for so long. But yeah, we would love to be able to be in the same sort of conversation as Raid in terms of, you know, people's interest in our type of game.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also worth saying as well that, you know, to get to where we are now, you know, creating a game which is going to have somewhere close to 300 heroes on launch, you know, loads of different game modes, the type of graphic
Godforge, over 300 characters
that we're aiming for and pushing to do, like that's not cheap to make. Yeah, we had to get millions in investment to even get to this stage of being able to launch this game. So it's well worth saying, like we can't just go.
Raid is still under 300 unique, really? I thought it was at 600. That could be. Maybe I'm just like blowing it way out of proportion because I feel like there's so many fucking characters in Raid.
Go out there and be everything's free.
Palette swaps don't count.
It's a completely free
I
game.
mean, I guess
everything that you do, and in fact, no game can. Otherwise, they just don't run. So that's
there's a couple of rares and epics that are just like,
I guess,
palette swaps.
Pay to progress faster.
I only have like $3.50, so it's hard, super hard.
I'm not going to say pay to win. So I don't think it is pay to win, but
What does
there
that
will
mean?
be an element of if you spend a bunch of cash, then you will be able to get heroes quicker than the next guy who's just playing for and pushing to do. Like that's not cheap to make. Yeah, we had to get millions in investment to even get to this stage of being able to launch this game. So it's well worth saying, like we can't just go out there and be everything's free and, you know, it's a completely free game for everything that you do.
Well, clearly, actually, Charlie, Moist Critical just released a video, I think today, and it's a quick video. So if like you're watching this in the future, go check it out. It's a video where he's talking about a indie dev who had created a like pretty successful Steam shooter, and it was like a stylized shooter game. At first, it was like a couple bucks, but then they made it free to play. And this person went and talked about how much money they've made from it on the back end from Steam. And they had like over 750,000 downloads, and it only had like small amounts of microtransactions in the game, like for cosmetic stuff. And over the course of 4 years, they have grossed, not net, but they've grossed 4,000 US dollars. I think after taxes and after Steam stuff or whatever, they made like 2.7 thousand. 750,000 downloads. And like the game had like a community, it had a Discord community, it had really good Steam reviews, and it really put into perspective like an indie game that's free to play that has like small amounts of cosmetics and microtransactions. Like the percentage of people who are willing to spend is so small. You really have to make it worth it to get your money back, especially if you're paying for, you know, you're paying back the money that you've spent, you're paying back the investors, you're paying, you know, the new salaries of people going forward to continue the live service of the game, to continue creating. Like, it's just a lot. It's just a lot to think about.
And in fact, no game can. Otherwise, they just don't run. So that's kind of like the preface to it, because we will have, I guess, pay to progress faster.
I only have like $3.
I don't know what pay to progress faster means. Like, he said before that they're going to have shard packs, which like makes sense, right? You can do that in any gacha. Like, yeah, you're going to paid tracking Zenless. Yeah, like a battle pass or like a permanent forge pass, like a monthly thing. Like something like a a daily, you're logging in, you're getting gems every day, and then or shards every day, and you use that to get characters. Like,
$50, so it's hard, super hard.
I'm not going to say pay to win. So I don't think it is pay to win, but there will be an element of if you spend a bunch of cash, then you will be able to get heroes quicker than the next
you'll be able to get heroes quicker.
guy who's just playing free to play.
Yeah.
So probably just shard packs and battle passes and things. I feel like that's that's. It just seemed worded weird. I don't know. Maybe he's just trying not to admit to anything just yet.
But what we don't want in the game is a model where the free-to-player could never compete with someone who spent money. They'll just get there at a slower pace. So that's the important thing from a kind of like pay-to-win mentality. And I think some of the games in this genre
they talk about my biggest want with Godforge in this video that we talked about on Friday. Yeah, they probably just don't have a name, or at least they're not ready to share or whatever.
In that place, because it's just
our video cards pay to win.
It's impossible.
No, actually no, because in Arc PvP, if you set your graphics lower, it turns off grass so you can see people who are walking through the grass in PvP. But somebody in max graphics is laying in the grass and they think they're covered, but they're just laying out in the open for the person who has shitty graphics.
To do that, and we definitely don't want it to be impossible to play on that kind of even footing. But there's also a couple of game modes where specifically they will be like skill and knowledge based. So even if you spent $1 million on the game, I saw your video where you interviewed someone that spent $1 million.
Yeah,
that was nuts. I watched Ash's video about. It was like an account review of somebody who had spent over $1 million on Raid Shadow Legends. And it's like at that point, like the person had said to him, he has trouble pulling shards because he has nowhere for characters to go. Like all of his reserves are filled up, max level +4. And it's like, and all of his normal spots for all of his champions are full up, and it's like, why are you even playing anymore? Like, what's the game for you?
You would have zero advantage over the guy that literally started playing tomorrow, providing unless you had more skill and knowledge in the game, and that's the important part for me. So two normalized modes.
Okay,
two normalized.
So 2 normalized modes.
I think one PvP,
let's
one
rewind,
PvE.
because that intrigues me. I know a little bit about these, but I really want to hear as much as you can share. I'm not sure how much is public, but I love normalized modes. I've been asking for it for a while. I'm sure you have too in Raid. Like, to me, especially PvP, I mean, it's so unbelievably lacking. But I digress. It would be cool to see in PvE as well. But like, back to monetization, you said obviously like spending for the equivalent of shards and opening and getting heroes faster will be a dynamic of this game. I'm sure that's not going to surprise anybody in this genre. But beyond that, do you expect, like, have you even reached or come to any conclusions, or at this point in the conversation, when it comes to like something as simple as like pop-ups? Ads, like, will there be?
This is a different question. What happened to talking about?
Will there be like watchable ads? Have you thought about like those levels of monetization, like, or any must-haves or must-not-haves?
Yeah, so I definitely don't want ads just in the game. Like, you have to watch this for 2 minutes and then you're going to get 20 energy or something.
Yeah.
I think
fucking
it
mobile
really.
Games.
I don't know. I just feel like it degrades the value of the game by quite a lot when you've got those in the game. So for us, we don't want to go in that direction. We do think there'll be a number of areas in the game where just being an active player will get you reward, and being a more skilled player will get you reward. All that normal stuff, like rewards that you can earn. But yeah, we don't think doing ads in that way is going to make any sense. There probably will be an element of pop-ups, but nowhere near as egregious as Raid.
Like every time you go to the Bastion, like a 15
yeah,
pop-ups.
I mean,
every time you do one little thing. Do you think that, like,
maybe like once you've seen it on a day, it's like can turn it off for the day type of thing, like you've seen a pop-up.
Yeah, it becomes bad, but it shows you the psychological trick that is raid, right? It becomes bad when you're like, okay, I know if I like, if you ever just want to like buy a diamond or something, you're like, all I have to do is click on my dungeon and then go back out and I'll get the pop-up. Like it's easier than going to the shop. But
That's how I
digress.
found like the skins, because I didn't know skins were in a different place in the shop. So I kept going back and forth between my Bastion and it's like something else until the skin pop-up came back up.
So obviously, when it comes to raid, do you think that how raid used to be, you know, before I guess soulstones, you know, I guess in mythicals, is that kind of striking a decent balance for you in terms of like what monetization might look like, with the caveat of like less pop-ups?
I think so, yeah. And I think we're talking around things like rates for summoning. We don't know all the numbers final yet, but they won't be that dissimilar from raid. Like, so let's be
Just
clear.
use the Genshin model. It's really that simple. Just use the Genshin model. You've got the same star rating of characters. Use the Genshin model. Have banners. Don't do 10 times. Don't do double rates for this weekend. And then also progressive chance to 25 times. Like every video, like there's videos coming out for this new Titan event for Thor. Because this weekend, or I guess the next couple days, is it the weekend? Whatever. The next like raid ups are going to be the faction like Unity characters. And they're only going to be times 10. So like all of the content creators are like, yeah, even if you get this character or the double legendary event that's happening or whatever, it's still a super stupid low chance of getting the character that you want. It's if you get a legendary, it's the whole pool of legendaries plus 10 of the ones that you want. So like your chance goes up by like 2% or something. It's like crazy. Genshin has had the same model. Genshin, Star Rail, Zenless all had the same model of banner that Honkai Impact 3rd and could be wrong. I believe that Honkai Impact 2 had. I believe it came from there. I could be totally wrong. I'm trying to think. At the very least, it was Honkai Impact 3. I don't know about 2. It's people play because they want a character. Like new legendaries just came out. Like what if Thor wasn't a fusion and it was just all of the new Asgard characters? Hey, these are out. You can get them in shard pools now. And like, you know, what if Thor is like my absolute favorite Marvel character? He's my favorite, you know, god, whatever. What if I'm like super into Thor? Like I'm really into Wukong. Like if Wukong wasn't a free character, I'd be pretty pretty like trying hard to get him whenever he comes up as like a extra chance to get him or something like that. Like if I'm playing a game like this, not like Raid, but like Godforge, where it is a little bit more character focused, I'm gonna want the character that I identify with the most, or I think is the coolest looking, or that has the coolest abilities. So I'm gonna want a higher chance to get that character specifically, and I have a higher likelihood of spending for that character. Oh, there's no way in hell they're doing that. They're launching with 300 characters. There's no way in hell they're going with a Genshin model. But like in terms of rates and in terms of like pity, like ancient shards don't need 200 pity. Like, come on.
I've played games where you can get all legendaries really fast, and I've got really bored in those games, like really quickly. Like they just don't seem to hold players that well. So having that moment where you really feel like you've just got yourself something which is account changing, I think is really important.
Yeah.
So summoning will have a similar type of system to most of these other gotcha games, but probably with rates that are just a little bit more favorable for the player, or with more options to get summoning crystals through gameplay. So you might get more of them, but the rates are similar. So it just feels like you can actually earn more, and therefore you're summoning more. You're going to get more chance to earn those legendaries. And there will be areas of the game where you can just go and earn the stuff. So I guess the equivalent of a fusion in raid will do similar things. Not just fusions though. We want to mix up what that looks like on a monthly basis so that it feels fresh. And
yeah, each fusion is kind of fucking boring.
And with that,
it's just the same
it won't
shit.
be a case of if you take a day off.
Fusions in raid are so obnoxious.
You cannot earn. You cannot earn the champion. So our systems will be slightly different. But
yeah,
there
for
definitely
sure.
will be the option to go and earn champions in that way. And there's other stuff that I can't talk about right now, but there'll be ways to upgrade those champions where again it can be earned rather than just pulled through summons.
Is there going to be a resource?
I hope that they do a better job of character dupes in Godforge than Raid. Watcher of Realms, I think, does this particularly well, and obviously Zenless and Genshin and Arc Knights and like traditional gachas, they have like really good dupe systems where like your character like drastically changes the more you get of that character, so it incentivizes people to like keep pulling on the banner, right? But like in Watcher of Realms, one of the biggest things that drew me to that game, and like if I had more time I'd probably play it more, is the lower level characters, the 3-star and 4-star characters. When you get duplicates of them, not only do your like base stats go up, that game I don't think has like game-changing duplicates, but their stats go up. They also visually change, which was sick. Like the first time I saw it, it was like one of the like starting characters you get, which like makes sense for the starter character. You get like a couple duplicates of it, or you pull a couple duplicates, and like he goes from being this like cloaked mage and you couldn't see his face, like then he like powers up and he's got like cracks of magic coming through and like you could see his face now, and like he looks just like badass, and like whew, that was so cool. Yeah. There's if you're getting 300 characters, like not every character's gonna have the ability to do that, but like if you're gonna spend a little bit more time on your legendaries, like they did talk about cosmetics before, but who knows what that means because they've not elaborated.
Like legendary skill tomes, I don't know. Is there going to be anything in the game that will not be able to be farmed somewhere in the game? You know what I'm saying? Like purchasable only, or you're not sure about that yet?
They do in like the early stages of their art process.
There will be skill tomes.
Where am I?
You know what? I'm not even sure where we ended up because
He wasn't supposed to say that.
we definitely at one point had a dungeon for it. I think we still do.
Okay.
But don't hold me on that one. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We'll be
Just
back and
a
forth
dungeon
with
for
quite a bit.
pages,
we can
and you
cut this 'cause
combine
I
the
don't wanna
pages.
make any
Like,
promises
it's
that
fine.
we get to deliver on, but
Yeah.
Something else to
it's
spend energy on.
Like I don't mind sharing stuff where it's like we're in design conversations, like constantly
This
going
is
back and
true,
forth
yeah,
on some
okay.
stuff because there has to be a certain amount of things that are monetizable. Otherwise, the game just won't function. Honestly, we just won't earn enough money to function. So, but then we do the sort of back and forth and well, where do we think that should be? And for example, our mastery system in Godforge is going to be completely different to what you see in a game like Raid, and there won't be a kind of.
I wonder if it's going to be
farm.
like a blood web kind of thing, or like a skill tree in like a traditional RPG where it's more like of a web, kind of like what's that game? Path to Exile, like that'd be super sick.
You know,
Or like a
needing to
WoW
farm up
talent tree.
the ability to use masteries, for example. You'll just unlock that within your heroes as you
Cool.
kind of like
So-
ascend them and level them and stuff.
Oh,
So
nice,
address-
nice. Not having to spend extra resources that could be used other places like energy and like shard packs or whatever to like fully get your character ready to go. Like as soon as I got Thor, I used 800 gems to get his masteries. Like I really wish I didn't have to do that.
Some of those massive time sinks that feel like you know, kind of outdated maybe a little bit.
Yeah, those pain points, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just those pain points. Yeah.
Okay.
Which we're well
Wayfinder? What do you
aware of 'cause
mean?
we played-
No.
A lot of people compare us to Raid, and obviously that's a natural comparison because of our audiences. But we've really gone and played like every game in this genre a ton,
Yeah.
and we've gone and looked at what features do we think are really strong, what have games done very well, what doesn't really land very well. What happens if you just put auto battles are auto complete everywhere? Is that something that the player base love, or actually is it frustrating in the end? And like there's a whole
Honestly, I think that they could do something similar to Arknights where you can have a currency that is used for leveling up skills. This is top of my mind because I just did it today for one of my Arknights characters. So in that game, if you want to increase the mastery of the character's skill, which is essentially like using a skill tome or whatever in Raid, you have to put them in the training room with an operator of the same type, like a sniper and a sniper. And you have to leave them in there with a bunch of resources for X amount of time. It's an egregious amount of time, but it's like 12 hours, 16 hours, 24 hours, things like that. Each skill can only be leveled up 3 times. But you could have like a currency only resource that just like bypasses that. Like I'm fine with, as a free to play Arknights player, being like, okay, I just got my new character. I've leveled them up. I can still use them in the game, but I'm going to set up training to increase their skill up a level because maybe I want the cooldown to go down or whatever. That's going to take 24 real life hours. Do I have enough money to pay for that timer to go away? No, I don't care. I'm just going to wait till tomorrow. I'm going to come back tomorrow because I'm looking forward to my skill being ready.
whole ton of stuff which we've gone and investigated whilst we're sort of mapping out all of our designs. So,
Okay. Well, I think that we've gotten a pretty.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Everything it was made as an online microtransaction riddled MMO. Changing locations, mount unlockable dice, and skins spread out over dungeons and multiple currencies. All that shit would normally get. It's just that seems. I mean, that seems good.
Pretty fair grasp on like monetization and what the game will and will not be. I want to shift towards like the second most popular question I'm seeing, and that is regarding Raid again. Surprise, surprise, but it's really regarding like, is this just a Raid clone? You know, is this? Are you guys basically doing everything that Raid did, only, you know, a little bit easier on some of those pain points, you know? So what do you say to that? Maybe that ties into the second aspect of the monetization, which is the standardized game modes to tee you up there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I think, I mean, I see it a fair amount in chats and stuff. Is this a Raid clone? And again, if you look at Raid, 5 years before Raid, there was a game called Summoner's War. And actually, Raid is almost a copy of Summoner's War, right? But it's graphically tons better.
Seen it a lot, but
much, even some of the boss mechanics are basically the same. Now, I never played Summoner's War, so I wasn't aware of just how similar it was.
I think it's like a dead game now, though.
Raid have taken a game and then they've updated it with their own visuals. You know, you can go back to Final Fantasy, and the turn-based RPG is not a new thing, and it's not a Raid thing. It's just a genre of game.
Yeah.
So in that sense,
I do like. Raid is its advertising? Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, like he said, like half the fucking community's coming from Raid. Like, it's a good crossover, like in terms of demographics. Um, I really like the pivot that they've made towards a more Star Rail focused like combat scenario, rather than the like clone, not clone of Raid, but the same mechanic of Raid of like wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, but instead of 4 characters you've made 6, because it kind of harkens back to what they were talking about, like, oh, you don't raise the level cap to 100 because you're just changing a number. Like, just keep it the same with that. Don't reinvent the wheel. With Raid, they could have done 4 characters, but there's a lot of other games right now that are doing 4 characters. They could have gone to 6, but then that would have been just like bumping up the number. I'm glad that they've gone with, if they kept it to turn based, I'm glad that they went with a Star Rail centric, or at least a Star Rail hint or flavor.
We are a turn-based
God, we're halfway through the video.
RPG hero collector. So if
There's
that means
similarities, yes.
yeah, if that means we're a clone, then I guess we are. But we're not cloning Raid. We're cloning the.
Yeah, I don't think that. I honestly, I don't know. Zenless is definitely much more akin to like a fighter. I don't think we've scratched the surface.
Genre,
Sure.
which means there's going to be a lot of similarities. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about differences. What do you think? I would love to pull on the thread of the standardized game modes, the areas of the game where, like as you said, someone who spends $1 million can compete with somebody who just downloaded yesterday and hasn't spent anything.
Yeah. So 2 of the game modes that we're really excited about are the normalized modes. So for us, we're going to do a normalized, like roguelike PvE dungeon.
This is what I was
every time
super
you go into
excited
the run,
for.
you'll have new decisions to make. So you'll have a different starting hero. You'll pick up different heroes along the route.
Okay, they said route.
You'll be trying to craft teams that synergize together, but you'll also be making decisions around power-ups that you collect, weapons that you collect, armor that you're able to put on your heroes, and make decisions around the direction you're
Armor that you collect and put on your heroes.
going to go in terms of the types of enemies that you'll face.
Ooh, this is really cool. Is there an ending to it? Is there, or does it go? Is it infinity?
No, it's uncapped. So there will
Uncapped is not great.
be like boss stages along the way.
Yep.
And that's somewhat down to the decision and route that you take.
Ooh, okay.
But yeah, we'll scale in difficulty in terms of what the enemies do. There'll be a point where probably no one should ever win that fight.
Personally, I don't think that roguelikes should be uncapped. Streamception, sort of. Hey, what's up? Sort of. We're reacting to a Godforge video. If you look at the most successful roguelikes, they have endings, right? Isaac has a billion bosses where you could end the game, or you could continue on and then end the game at a different boss, because they've now introduced like 6 different end games or whatever. Hades has an end of the game. The one I'm thinking about, because again it's top of mind and it's really, really good, the Arknights roguelike. Like, you use your own characters, and you don't have to worry about gear in that game, but you do get to choose which path you go, and there is a sense of like self progression when like you beat a boss, and then you get to the next like level, and then you beat that boss, and then there's like a final boss, and then like it's really tough to get there, and then when you finally beat the boss, the like end boss, it feels really rewarding, and there's not a reason to not do it again, because there's also rewards tied to playing it. And like, if it's normalized and you don't have to worry about only using your own characters, there could be a replayability of, oh, I want to try to see, maybe I can beat it faster, or in a different way, I guess. with other characters, or oh, I really want to try out this character because I heard that they're coming up on a new banner or a new whatever. So you go through it. I mean, Godforge isn't exclusively single player, but this PvE roguelite was mentioned to be single player. I think there's room enough for both. I think you could have an endless mode if you also tie it to the community somehow in the normalized version of it, right? You can't have an uncapped roguelite that is open to everybody, because then whales would dominate. Similar to like how tournaments and like global tournaments work in Raid. Like there's no way in fucking hell I'm ever going to get first place in the world at champion training, right? Right? Like people get like 100,000 points and it's like, and they get like, you know, a blue shard for first in the world or something like, or like relentless gear. Like I think there is room for like an interesting uncapped in a normalized mode where it's skill based and like community based. Like if there's a community of people within the game who are like, okay, here's the characters that we're finding are getting the furthest. Let's try to push together as a community further and further and further and further. I think Punishing Grey Raven had something like this, but I think it was time based and not like stage longevity. I can't remember. The inability to grind a game, I don't. Wait, what? I don't mind an else mode, but I like to unlock it. If this is a multiplayer game, I can't weigh in because I don't play multiplayer. It's like it's a PvE and a PvP game, you know. Overall, roguelite,
sometimes you'll just get like
super
this
good.
godlike run.
But if we don't see elements of Arknights, if we don't see elements of Hades, if we don't see elements of Binding of Isaac, then it would be super clear that they did not do their research when it comes to roguelike, or even, you know, games like FTL or I don't know, a million other like really, really good selling
where
roguelites that are like
everything is just going your way. You're
sort
getting
of Hall
all
of
of
Fame.
the heroes that really synergize very well together.
That makes for good streaming content too, right there. You know, maybe I have too much of my content.
You can't do that. Like, you can't do that to friends.
But like, I would love to see the best in the world, because as again, it's standardized.
Gambling
it's not like watching
roguelites?
the best in the world where
What?
Raid, where you're like, yeah, congratulations, you have all +4 mythicals fully empowered. You know, it's just like it's different. You know.
Want to hear a new song?
Yeah.
I'd love to. Okay. Go to hell, go to hell.
Yeah, and it does become very knowledge based and skill based, and
Yeah.
you know,
I've never heard of those.
if you've ever watched games like
It's
Hearthstone
fantastic.
Backgrounds or Teamfight Tactics or just
Hearthstone.
someone play something like Hades, the roguelike.
TFT.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of skill in understanding which directions you should go based on
yeah.
decisions you've got, and that's what
Let's
intrigues
not
me most is like
do anything
how,
related to League
how
of
fun
Legends.
can we make this, and how much can we make it like a different experience every time that you play. And with that in mind as well, we're going to have almost like a seasonal structure to it, where the heroes that are available for a run will change up with a season. So it's not just one meta forms and then everyone tries to hit that meta.
Yeah, seasons
And with
is
those
really good
seasons,
for
we'll be able to tweak things like conditions.
roguelites,
So
especially with so many
the
characters.
weapons that are available will change. What the armor types do in that game mode will change.
So it does seem that armor and weapons are separate. So you might be able to get faction weapons that are just wholly separate from your characters.
the bosses you might face will change, but then it almost also might be something like, I don't know, all order champions take
Maybe in terms
10%
of
more
stats.
damage, or apply a burn whenever they hit, or whatever we want to do. Honestly, we can
That's
mix
really,
it up.
That really intrigues me. I think I told you this yesterday in one of our meetings, but I played. You've never played Dead Cells? Have you heard of it?
I didn't
No?
play that.
Oh,
no,
Dead
I've not played
Cells.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really love it. I'm like 5 years or whatever late to the game, but like
I've not played that, but I've
really
watched a
love
ton
it.
of
It's
it.
my first like real authentic roguelike experience, and it's super fun. Like I can't playing that. I got myself thinking like I can't wait to play Godforge with this mode. mapped onto a hero collector like this, you know, like I
Yeah.
would. That's really cool, and that for me is definitely a big differentiator, you know, between raid.
No, that's cool. I mean, and we'll also have things like leaderboards. So for that season,
Yeah. So the
how far did
seasonality
you
model too.
progress? And,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And so if you imagine for
Little
your run,
Dragonair vibe there with a leaderboard, or not?
yeah. So we're not gonna with the leaderboard type of
Yeah.
stuff. So if you can imagine on your run, every time you overcome like a boss encounter, you'll get loot on the run. But then the furthest you progress in that season, that will be kind of like your score on the leaderboard. So you might have a couple of crap runs, but you still want to go back in to try and get yourself,
Yeah.
towards the top spot and get cosmetics or.
And it's going to be different
shards
every
or whatever
time. It's
gonna
not
be.
even locked in. Like, is it going to be locked in the same version of that exact run all season, and then it changes?
No.
Or
Every
single
run you do
Gotcha.
will be a different experience.
That's super cool.
That's the vibe.
Cool. I really
so
like that. That's.
I don't know if they've got enough time
so,
to do
I mean,
a huge
I'd be
roguelike
interested to know
like
what
that
you think.
in
So
the game
when you're playing, did you say it's
before
Dead
launch.
Cell?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we're trying to make sure there's a certain time limit to a run, so that it doesn't feel like, oh no, I need to go in and do my 1 hour run, and it feels like
okay.
rather than a experience. So I'm interested. How long would you think it'd be? And perhaps anyone who's watching, give us some ideas around what.
So, a big thing when it comes to Arknights, I think I even still have one going. You can leave the roguelite and go do other stuff in the game. You can just like literally pause it, and then whenever you want, you can go back into the roguelite exactly where you are, or exactly where you were. Having it so where you're like forced to complete it or get to a point where you like lose or something doesn't feel good to me.
Yeah, because I'm 2
how does that
days.
feel to you?
I'm 2 days experience with this game. They have like a Castlevania downloadable content, and that's my jam.
Right.
So that's how I got into the game, to play the mini game, whatever. But
Dead
anyway,
Cells?
the way that they do it is, from my understanding, after
talking about
2
Dead by
day
Daylight.
player, is there's no time limits, but you get bonuses if you get to a boss or clear a stage under a certain time. So maybe you get like double your gear or whatever it may be, but you get like really nice bonuses if under 8 minutes you cleared this stage or whatever it may be, right?
Oh, that's very cool. Actually, I hadn't thought about doing it in that direction. That
There he is. There's a traitor. Traitor.
you get improved stuff if you're going quicker.
Yeah, rather than penalizing, you actually get solid rewards, like meaningful rewards, so it naturally incentivizes going fast, but it also doesn't penalize you if you're just slow and you just want to understand all the dynamics, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's one
cool.
idea. There's other things too, like you can, if you go without taking damage or something like that, you know, or kill an amount of champions without taking damage, you get another bonus.
Yeah, I mean, having extra rewards for just clearing something more efficiently seems good. It's like S ranks. Like you complete a stage, you know, in raid you complete a stage, it's 3 stars instead of 1 star, like, you know, whatever.
So like there's room there for other.
A tier because I missed the 2 million objective feels about as shit. Just today I got my best Hydra normal clear. 1 key auto. 1 key auto. Sorry. 1 key auto after turn 1 because I started with Artok and he always chooses his A2 over his A3 to start with. It's so fucking annoying. So I manualed turn 1 because he's the fastest. And I got I think like 14 or 15 mil, which is my current highest Hydra 1 key, which is insane.
I guess ways to incentivize certain activities.
Yeah. And I think so. What we want it to be able to.
Oh, wait. What the? Okay, I never saw this screen before. Okay, so we have energy in the top. I never saw the screen before. Energy in the top with a plus to buy more. We've got the stage number. We're in campaign. We're in the campaign zone, so there will be campaign farming likely. We've gotten, okay, divine pass bonus. Maybe this is the monthly, like you pay X amount and you get a bonus to completing certain objectives. Just get like bonus gold. I don't know what these shards are, but theoretically they're a currency that you only get because you paid money. Characters are leveling up. And there's a 6-star weapon. They've not showcased if like what their gear system is. So I don't know if that's like just like a weapon that you would get. You know, clearly this is made for a demo, but I don't know if this is a weapon that you would get that's usable on multiple characters, if it's specifically gear or if it's specific to a character. I don't know what this like little helm thing is. Maybe it's a set piece. Might be a placeholder. Yeah, it could be a placeholder. I don't know. Turn count and timer is there as well. I don't know. I don't really like. I mean, it's just very typical for gachas, especially mobile gachas, to have like stages and farming stages. But I don't know. It's just not my favorite.
What to do, and again, we're working through the
Yeah,
design of it.
yeah.
And for those who don't know, like the design of this type of feature or any game feature, honestly, it takes a lot of time because you have to make sure that anyone can just pick up and play. And
Red,
it doesn't
blue, green,
feel too
purple.
complex,
Yeah.
But you also need that kind of depth in the game mode, that someone that really wants to push it has got the ability that
Red, blue. We got blue, red, green, purple.
anyone can just pick up and
I hope they do it the right way around, though. I don't like raids style because like water should beat fire and fire should beat grass and grass should beat water. Not the opposite way. Red should not beat blue. Green should not beat red.
play, and it doesn't feel too complex. But you also need that kind of depth in the game.
Yeah, I mean there's Artery Gear is another gacha game that's turn-based, very similar, wave-based content. They had a red, blue, and green rock paper scissors mode,
Mode that someone
like to
that
their
really wants
to all of their
push
characters,
it,
you know.
has got the ability to push it a bit further and really try and min max what they're doing.
Yeah.
So we're thinking that there might be this kind of godlike run.
yeah. Well, so then you get like some TCGs will have like red, blue, green, black, white, purple, yellow. Like they'll add colors.
Where you're just picking up a ton of power ups for one particular hero. Let's say it was Zeus, and you basically turn Zeus into this absolute like proper god that's just one shot in all these waves, doing crazy stuff. Whereas another run you might be focused on, I need all Avalon heroes to be able to really unlock my power-ups, and therefore it's more like a team-based power-up. And the more you kind of like leverage into that, the further you could get. So there'll be some interesting different
Gigantic
directions,
Simon
I
in the
think.
middle.
But yeah, that's definitely a fun one to be trying to work through.
No, absolutely. There's definitely some possibilities there. What about the second
They
game? where you
keep
said there was two?
showcasing
Sure. So
the
second
Musashi and like
one, I guess,
I get it.
similar
I get it.
feel in a way. So it's normalized again, but PvP.
Okay.
And so for this, what we're thinking is generally there'll be
This is
a
interesting.
ladder for normalized PvP, but there'll also be the ability to, let's say, Ash, you wanted to do like a clan invite tournament. And you could set up your own tournament with 16 participants, and you could say, right, invite only. I'm just going to invite my guys from the clan that are going to take part in this. It's like who's the best in our clan at this game mode type of thing.
Yeah.
Or it might be we decide to do a content creator challenge and we just invite content creators that are going to come in. Or it might be that someone just says, I'm going to set up one, but anyone can join from the game, but they have to have a certain player power, or I'm only going to let
Player power. No. Why? I mean, it's like a number that people want to get higher, so like I get it, but player power?
people use epics or whatever it is. Like basically conditions that you set as the person who's setting this up.
Okay.
I feel like I didn't quite understand what this. So this is a normalized PvP mode, but it's a system that needs to be set up by a third party to participate in.
So the idea of this is, I guess we've stolen the idea to a certain degree, because I used to play a lot of Hearthstone Arena.
Okay,
And with
so
Hearthstone
drafting.
Arena, you're kind of like drafting your set of cards based on different decisions. So you have like 30 picks, and each pick you're choosing between 1 or 3 cards to try and get a good synergy of cards and make a good deck.
Right.
With our PvP mode, it's a similar type of idea that you'll be getting choices of heroes, and everyone who plays in this kind of like same ladder, or same kind of like attack, I guess, like you're going into the same pool, will get the same decisions to make, and you're basically trying to build yourself a defense that you can put in for people to attack.
Oh, no.
And then you're also putting in an offense for you to use, and you're just kind of drafting heroes to try and
I
fill
like
those
it.
roles.
So it's just like straight up going back to Magic the Gathering, just Friday Night Magic. You're just drafting off of the pack. Right?
This feels like it should be more of a live arena type thing. Do you like the Hercules? It's like a Hydra club. It does like poison damage because of the Hydra or something like that. It's particularly cool. I feel like if you're having a normalized PvP mode, you're drafting characters to set up as a defense in this wholly separate PvP mode, where there's separate ladders and things like that. It's just like PvP, but with extra steps. Like, okay, we got PvP, and then we got PvP 2. PvP 2 is just, hey, I can use characters that I don't own, potentially, that are like normalized to a gear level, to like a certain item level. Yeah. What I'm assuming that gear bonuses and all that shit is standardized, and everybody who enters this thing, PvP 2, has equal access, and it's literally just choosing the characters. Yeah. Understanding of I think that's what he was saying earlier. Like, understanding of the game, understanding of the characters is going to push you further than somebody who spent a bunch of money and just autos everything because they just auto everything. They didn't take the time to learn the game versus you, who may be free to play or whatever. 6-star seducer. I don't want to talk about my 6 stars. I think it's fine, but like time and time again, I hear from not these specific content creators, but content creators in general for Raid, that like PvP in and of itself is favorable to the attackers. Which is why live arena is such a different thing, because you have to know your characters. You have to know the counter picks. You have to know who to ban. You have to know who to choose as your lead. Like, there's so much more active gameplay when it comes to that. Which is why I would think that if you're saying, hey, I'm implementing a drafting mode, stupid bomb guy who AoE bombs before he dies, delicious. No, this stupid scarab. I beat the one scarab, but I have a double boss scarab that I just can't beat. I don't have blood shields for it. I could build Scrapper. I could 6-star Scrapper, but that sounds like a really terrible idea. Anyway, I think that there's room for a draft mode, but anytime, I don't think that that's an on launch type of game mode. I think it's a like a major patch later on, sometime in the future, that you're vocal about, that you're building towards, that you try to hype up, because like you need the players to be able to do it. Like you can't. You could have a draft of like in a small arena tournament where it's like single elimination, 8 people, and it's just like, you know, whoever doesn't lose wins and you get a bunch of prizes, like whatever. So it's essentially like you're sitting around a table at Friday Night Magic and you're drafting the characters that you're going to pick or that you're going to play as. And maybe you get like, I don't know, a roster of like 8 characters, and then you go up against somebody and you do like a pick and a ban system. But for that to happen, it's just, you know, it's an extended amount of time. You would need the players to be able to do that. You need the you know, it's a multiplayer thing. You need the people to be able to do that, so your queue times aren't an hour long or whatever. I think that to me is more interesting than just, oh hey, here's PvP2, except with characters you don't own yet that are probably kind of weak because they're in like standard gear. Let's just do 2 ladders that are the same thing, except one is your characters and one is not your characters. Like that. That's just how I'm reading it. Maybe it's not anything like that, but it seems bad.
Right, like that's it.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
There'll be conditions for a season, so it might be a case of, okay, well, only 50 heroes from the pool are available in this season, and again, there'll be conditions around potentially like each pool or each tournament. There'll just be conditions around what's stronger, weaker, you know.
Just so anybody
Yeah,
can start
right?
these tournaments, basically, and there's like a prize at the end of the season. Is that how they go?
Yeah, so there'll be a general leaderboard for the community.
Yeah.
We're thinking something like, and again, this might not be on launch, but it might be something we add a little bit later, but something like the top 128 people in terms of how they performed in this kind of like leaderboard will then go into an ultimate end of season knockout, which you know the community can follow and,
that'd be cool.
and get behind. You know, some of their fave
Start a little
players
fantasy league.
The biggest thing I think that they have going for them is that Deadwood Jedi and Hell Hades both do. Well, Deadwood Jedi started like a community reward or community awards type thing. Hell Hades is known for like the free to play challenge at the beginning of the year that gets like thousands of community members to play new accounts in new ways with a community leaderboard. Like it's a crazy event to watch because there's people who do like an insane amount of stuff in the game in Raid Shadow Legends with a brand new free account in like 3 months. And it's like they're clearing hard mode stages that I've not even touched in terms of like Fire Knight, or you know, they've got Ultra Nightmare done in like the first month, and it's like, what is happening? So like I think leveraging that and trying to incorporate more community things, I think is a strong suit.
I got you. Nice. That's cool though. That's cool. And again,
what do you mean? The nature of its
all made
observation.
Intriguing to me, just based on the fact that it's standardized, right? Like that it's anybody. There's that glimmer of hope and promise that anybody could be there next month or whatever. You know that. You know.
I think that becomes quite
10 minutes left.
Streamable content again.
Trying
Right?
to
So
pause.
if you are not someone who enjoys PvP, and there's loads of people that do not. Some people still enjoy watching the challenge of the draft, the challenge of, okay, well, how are we going to make a good
very
defense
very
and
heavily
offense out of
scrutinized.
these heroes that you've drafted, and then what are you going to face from what other people have drafted? And sometimes there might be, you know, a curveball. Let's say Zeus again is in the pool, and there's 2 options with Zeus. So let's say in the pool currently is an absolute nuke Zeus, or I don't know, one that protects your team in some way. And you don't know which one of those builds you're fighting against when you see them in defense. So you might plan your offense as if it was, you're fighting
Again,
against like a nuke Zeus,
I don't
when
think
actually
that
he's set up
PvP2
to massively just protect his
Electric
team.
Boogaloo is a good idea.
So
that's cool though. I like that customization.
like,
Especially if it's in a normalized mode and you're talking about, oh well, they drafted a Zeus that has different abilities. Like, well then what's the point? Like keep that to the PvE. Like PvP, if you're setting up a defense, you're expecting certain things unless you advertise it like in siege mode. You advertise, hey, this thing has these conditions. Be ready for it. I don't see where this is a successful game mode. I don't know. I think if you're going to have a normalized pool, you could just have a normal banner, or you could have a normal ladder. Just keep it to a normal ladder, or make it a group experience.
Yeah.
It's just the more knowledge I think you'd have of a set, or for that set, for that tournament group, the better you could achieve, and with that type of thing. So we're thinking, if you were to win 12 fights in a row, basically that's the maximum reward you could get, plus you'd get like another entry if you wanted to go back in and draft again.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So like you would ban Varian because their team doesn't have a tank, and you think that their team would use Varian as a tank or something like that. Or because there's different potential builds for the character. I mean, I feel like maybe I'm not getting enough information. Maybe there's just not enough information that they're ready to release yet. But I think they could implement it pretty well, and I don't know if they're gonna hit the mark.
Plus rewards, but let's say you won less than 3 fights, well, you would just get like minimal rewards. So
okay,
it's one of those things that you could go back in for again if you just like that game mode.
That's cool. No, I'm looking forward to both of those. Like.
Also, can we please not tie currency to playing PvP? Again, let me play your game. Sure. If somebody wants to spend, I mean, it's going to be like PvP and WoW. Vague on specific. Yeah, he's being vague on specifics. We can go back to talking about PvP and WoW, and like people who spend more time in the game doing the thing are going to be higher in the leaderboard. Tie all the best account upgrades directly to Live Arena. Can you expand? I don't know if I know what the direction you're going. So like, I just don't, like, I don't want a billion currencies. Like, gacha games are known for having a billion currencies, and I don't want a currency where I'm only allowed to do arena so many times per day, and then I can do arena 2 so many times per day, and then I can do live arena so many times per day. It's like, Jesus Christ, just let me play the game. Like, I just want to try out different teams, or I want to play live arena outside the freaking 2 hours that I'm allowed to do it. Raid already does that, and it shits me. Tie all the best account upgrades to. Oh, you're saying. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're talking about the Great Hall, the area bonuses. You must do live arena, but you only get 5 tokens every day, unless you spend or get like the refresh. And good luck winning, even if you're level 100, because you're facing whales. Yeah, don't do this. Don't do this. This is just asinine. This whole system is asinine. Yeah. I totally agree. Like, it's good to have us like a completionist type of thing, but it's just ridiculous. Like, why does my Thor deal less damage than your Thor? Oh, because you happened to spend more to buy, I guess, more arena things to like get further in arena faster than me or something. Or you chose attack percent as your affinity bonus, and I chose crit damage, like because you were broke after the fusion. Look, I spent like 15 mil trying to gear him, and the gear didn't even get that great.
Like, I'm sure those would be two crowd favorites, given how unique they are to the genre, at least in my experience. I'd be remiss if I did not ask you one more hard-hitting question here, Simon.
Let's do it.
Yeah, definitely.
And that is about the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive that I've seen overall since the release of the demo, with one exception, and that has been a lot of either vocal minority or just majority of people giving, like, really unsure about this camera angle here. So we're seeing it in the background right now.
The camera.
It's talk a little bit about, if you can, I'm not sure how much you've shared before, but like, how did we get to this point that this is where we decided on?
Okay, start real.
And what do you think of the feedback so far?
Yeah. So I'm actually going to be doing a video on the Fateless YouTube channel next week.
So check that out, guys. This is a teaser.
Where I address not just this, but I'm addressing like the top 10 asked questions. So this is one of them, right? So the camera, it's interesting. So what we looked at is Raid Shadow Legends, the winner currently in terms of like the Western style view, the Western style quality graphics. So that's been one of the games that we've looked at for some inspiration along the way. Of course we would. We know it so well. And then we also looked at actually the #1 game in the genre, which is Honkai Star Rail, and they use basically this view but on an anime game, and it's kind of like a cinematic experience.
So here's that ranking. I have no idea how AFK Journey is higher than Star Rail in the month of August. Maybe it was just a bad banner. I know 2 new characters came out, but I guess people still play AFK Journey, like a lot. Love and Deep Space has been absolutely hitting it off with the ladies. It's crazy. AFK Journey in China, 46 mil. Fate Grand Order. I hope that they don't look at Fate Grand Order for much of anything. The Naruto game has been super popular. Yeah. This is very normal. Genshin, pretty low. Even this is before the new people knew about the new characters that were coming, so this is previous to that. Zenless, this was Qingyi, I think. Yeah. Oh yeah, you can see the first month is Ellen, 68 million, and then Qingyi, 16. This is the month on the right is August. Just last month. Arknights kind of doing pretty bad. I want to see what September's are after well, this is in China. This isn't even global. But there's a Rainbow Six event going on right now. Nikkei, I think, is now doing Evangelion crossover, so that should be bumping up a little bit. Wuthering Waves is down. Love and Deep Space Global is up, but China is just like out of this world. Nobody plays Blue Archive anymore. Epic 7, that's dead. Reverse is dead. Arknights Global, 2.7 mil, not great. But again, this is before the Rainbow Six update that's going on like right now. Nobody plays AFK Arena because Journey's out. Punishing Grey Ravens, dead. Girls Frontline is coming out with a new 3D game, and I'm kind of pumped for that. Looks kind of sick. Dislight, dead. I'm so disappointed. Fun fact, there's a rhythm game in Dislight, and it's like on mobile, it's super fun. So here's if you want me, there's 2 ways to get me to play your game, Hades. Add Sun Wukong on launch, and if you just want to like add him to my account, that Totally understand. 2, put a rhythm game in your game. Like I'll play I'll play the Drums of Liberation in Godforge. Why not? I'll tell everybody about the game. Fucking love rhythm games. Tower of Fantasy, totally dead. Counterside, man, Counterside is so interesting, but it's so old and it has not updated essentially ever. It has the same model it's always had. It's such a good game, though. Tears of Themis is basically no longer supported. Okay, we're like dead zone down here, but I think when they're talking about, like, I've played games that give you every character, I'm pretty sure they're talking about AFK Journey. I really think that they should look a little bit past Star Rail for things including like Arknights, Nikke, even Dislight. Like, there's some really good gear related things in Dislight that are really nice. Just look beyond Hoyo. I think is like Hoyo, obviously heavy hitter on the top of everybody's mind, but like pay attention to other top games in the genre too. Launched in Asia in August 8th. On August 8th. What do you mean? What do you mean did? Oh, AFK Journey?
Experience where you get to see your characters, your heroes, way more kind of like upfront and personal. You really get to feel their animations and stuff like that.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought it was a global thing.
Mashup between.
That's why it made more. Yeah, yeah.
Kind of like the raid visual, but with
the first banner in
style
AFK Journey
like
is
Honkai
so
style route.
good.
And to give some context, like Honkai, I think has got something like 4 or 5 times more players than raid on a daily basis. So it's massively like a juggernaut in the genre right now. So we thought it'd be really cool. Anyway, I've had a bunch of feedback to say it feels a bit jarring. And I guess the answer to that is, firstly, it's not set in stone that that's where we'll go. But for the
if it's jarring, don't think of this game as Raid Shadow Legends. It's not Raid Shadow Legends. If you want a Raid Shadow Legends style camera, play Raid Shadow Legends. If you want to play a different game, get used to it.
Demo, what we were trying to do is at least show people how that playstyle would feel. And there's a bunch of the stuff which just isn't fixed yet, which will be making it feel more jarring than it is, right?
This is like this is like alpha.
Like pre-alpha, basically, yeah. So things like, you know, our characters not jumping back after they've attacked. Sometimes they just stand and stare for a couple of seconds. The enemy not jumping.
He's like playing videos in the background.
Yeah. Things like that just weren't done in time for the demo. And also things like some of the visual effects are just not polished enough to really sell the moves and stuff like that. So there's that element that we've still got play in terms of, you know, playing around with how far away we are from our hero and stuff like that. When you buff your team, what we originally thought we would do is you would kind of like hit the buff button and then you'd flick and see your team rather than...
Honestly, if they carbon copied the entire combat system of Star Rail, I wouldn't be mad at in the slightest. Like, they're kind of already there, just with like a little bit more complexity in individual skills. And by complexity, I mean too much verbiage. If they just carbon copied the camera, like, it's good. Like,
traits again that didn't get in time for the demo. So
if it ain't broke, go fix it.
It's very hard to understand if... Well, it's hard to make a decision right now, basically. Before we get to like a beta point where it's like, guys, come and play it. Actually feel the game as it's meant to be played.
Try a couple battles, see what happens, see what you think.
And then we start to hear the feedback again. But we've already taken it back to the design team and said, you know, if we needed to, could we turn on 2 camera angles? Like, if we had to, and how much extra work is that to do? And it's some extra
I think the
work,
static camera would only be for accessibility.
You know, it would put us back some time, but not like crazy amounts of time because it's just cameras. But the other thing you benefit from with the kind of upfront and only seeing one of your team when they're going to attack is that we're able to just raise the quality of the visual we can represent on a mobile.
Yeah. I think you're talking about exactly.
Again, those people that play tested in Gamescom that were playing on the mobiles were like, damn, this feels really slick. Which is hard to get across when you're not actually the person playing it.
They want to showcase how good they believe their models are for in-game characters. I think they look pretty good, but they clearly hold them in very high regard and want you to feel like you're there with the character. And like which is like oh man, if they put Wukong in and I really like the design of Wukong and they're like, if you want to get Wukong, it's a rate up ×2, it's a 6% chance, and they only get 10 extra chances if they do the raid model, I'm gonna be so freaking mad.
In person
on a screen recording. Yeah. Okay, so TLDR, you'll be addressing this next week. I look forward.
Yeah, who knows what they plan on doing with weapons? He keeps specifying weapons. So they haven't released anything on what the gear is going to be, what the gear systems are going to be. I imagine it's going to be similar to Raid and other gachas where there's going to be set bonuses and things like that. I feel like he's mentioned that. But who knows how many? It could be 5, it could be 6, it could be fucking 9, I don't know. But he keeps specifying weapons. And part of like what really, I don't know, sort of draws me to Genshin versus Star Rail or Zenless when it comes to weapon banners is that you get a weapon off of a banner in Genshin, you equip that weapon to your character, and they use that weapon. Like if I'm using Ito and I put the brand new Claymore that I got, or I use the one that's designed specifically for him, like I go from using like a clunky Buster Sword to a sword that visually fits him. And like it's so much more interesting than in Star Rail where you equip a weapon and you don't look any different, or Zenless, you equip the character's W engine and like a little part of them glows. Like it's just slightly different.
Forward to that video on the Fateless YouTube channel, which will be linked.
Yeah. I mean, W engines are totally different than
like
weapons, but
anything's possible.
light
I guess,
cones are
at
just
this point, right?
boring.
I agree with you.
A way out, you know.
We're already seeing it. Is like the game's not even released at all, right? No one's played it, but you start to.
Hades, man, we have got to talk about fonts. I'm just discovering my font autism, okay? Please, for the love of God. We have got to talk about fonts.
Start to get like enormous amounts of community feedback on every little thing, which is awesome. But also, it's important to always remind yourself, right, that we need to.
Speaking of W engines, I had enough like store currency, you know, from like getting characters or whatever, to buy Lycan's W engine. Because I wasn't gonna wait until I like happened into it, so I now have his W engine.
At least like allow people to play the game before we really start making changes, right? You just don't want to.
Yeah, it's sick. It looks so good.
Because on the Fateless side too, there is this inherent, like, idea and ethos of wanting to please the community, be community first, right? So like you at the same time you have to kind of juxtapose that with like, okay, we have to also not be crazy really reactive here and let people experience the game.
Yeah, and also it's funny because you get the don't be a Raid clone, but then when you see something different from Raid, people are like,
like the camera angle.
This? You know,
like
we're used to the other view.
You don't need to reinvent the wheel, Hades.
Don't be a Raid clone, but be a Raid clone.
One of the things which I wanted to say as well, what was I just about to say?
Oh, that's insane. How much
I just lost my own
damage do her brakes do?
Community, camera angle, episode next week, you'll talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, no, so, I know what I was going to say. Yeah, so obviously when people get in and actually play the beta and are able to sort of get that first-hand experience of the gameplay rather than just seeing it through a different point of view, someone else's point of view, it's a completely different experience.
Yeah.
So we are very open to feedback, and we're very open to kind of like listening to what people say.
That's pretty good.
There was also, though, a ton of people, perhaps that weren't as loud in their feedback, that really loved the camera angle. And you know, that's one of the things that kind of gets lost when you've got, you know, a loud group, is that there's a number of people that were saying really love the kind of like different visual, different style, and we can't discount that as well, you know, because generally people that are
I think this is totally separate from what they're talking about, kind of, but I think like the first iteration of Fateless, where it was like you progress sort of like Raid down like a railroad level, the thing that I like the most that they've kept from that era of the game is that the environment around you like gets destroyed the more damage you do. Like that feels powerful. Like you'd have to do the animations and you'd have to like clean things up to really get that through. But like when Zeus uses his ultimate and like deals a bunch of damage and kills 2 people, like boom, like a pillar falls down, like that feels good.
Set with something and much noisier than people that love something. So
this
yeah,
is true.
You know, we're still trying to work
factor in everybody's opinion for sure. No, I get you, man. My final question for you, Hades, is our beta still
it's
open?
like, what is it, level it's 2 and 4 or like 3 and 5 or something like that. It's like that in all the Hoyo games. It's like there's a couple duplicates that increase like ability stuff, and then there's ones that increase skill cap levels or skill level caps.
Right now, can people still sign up right now?
Yep. So we can go to.
I don't know if you saw, but
the kind of low lift.
It was happening in the background. Not in that fight, but
now. We'll have links for you guys.
But yeah, we're kind of getting ourselves ready for the big.
That was one of their like big things earlier on in development, that Hades was like showing off like destructible terrain. Like as you progress through the level and deal damage, you feel like you're fucking up the area.
Beta push early next year.
All right. Any final words on your end, Simon? Thanks so much for being so generous and giving us the full update here on all the hard hitting topics here for Godforge.
Yeah, I just appreciate everyone who's kind of like got behind us already. There's so many.
I think I found it.
What's crazy for me is there's so many YouTube channels that are already popping up.
I know.
It's crazy.
We got Vexing Live, Godforge Legends, Heroes, Legends, and Gods. Over 3,000 characters on launch, including Sun Wukong and Robin Hood and Jack the Ripper, and John Wayne Gacy. Here's the destruction area. So look at the background of the zone.
Remiss if I did not ask you one more hard-hitting question here, Simon.
Yeah, definitely.
And that is about the
boom, sort of just like topples over.
Positive that I've
and
seen
then for the rest of the game, it's
since
just
the
like
release
that.
of the demo, with one exception, and that has been a lot of either vocal minority or just majority of people giving like
that's pretty sick. Even if it's just something subtle like that, and it's, from what I understand, there's something like that in each stage, or each different, like, you know, backdrop that they have, each location, I guess. Okay, well, that was it for this React video. I definitely went way too long. I'm gonna have to splice together a couple things in post-production. I guess there's another Fateless video coming. I do eventually want to get to some of the backlog of podcasts, to get to a couple of the other people who are sort of like higher ups at Fateless, to get some of their opinions talked about and sort of aired, because they do have, you know, they're different people. They have different things going on in their development. They talk with other people too. Like they brought in a guy who does who did cinematics for Blizzard and for Riot, to do cinematics for their game, and they brought him onto the podcast and talked to him. So like that was super interesting. But it takes me like 2 hours to get through a 30-minute video. So we might need to find a different way to do this, because I do also want to play games. Anyway, have a good day. I'm going to end the video here. Appreciate you.